Hey, it's me, Big P, and I wanted to do a quick video going over my first impressions of Last Epoch. I said I would look up how to pronounce it before I started this video, but I didn't, so please let me know in the comments how to do so. I basically didn't want to play Diablo 4 at all, but still had the ARPG itch after getting 38 challenges in Path of Exile. Didn't feel like trying D4. I would get a sense of how it was watching some streamers, and I was just like, I was unimpressed by the beta, but I still wanted to play another ARPG. And Last Epoch, although $35 normally is like a little steep, I want to wait for a sale to tip, around 20 or something like that. It's basically half off Diablo 4, and my initial impressions of this game are extremely strong. It's like at least twice as good, I would say. It's much closer to like a more the Path of Exile style. Obviously, I'm going to do so many parallels towards Path of Exile because that's the main game. So I do apologize in advance. I understand that that sort of thing has been done to death, but that did color my experience of the game a lot, and also like really highlighted little small things during this experience that were just like, oh my god, why doesn't Path do something like this? This is brilliant. They have a lot of things that they've done well. Some rough edges, but let's go over it. So I just kind of didn't want to look up anything. I just wanted to see how much I could get into just going from the ground up, new character with very little direct knowledge. I extrapolated a bunch of knowledge from, the other ARPGs and just other games that I've played to get pretty solidly into the end game. I did get a bit of trouble when I first unlocked the what are these monolith systems, and had to grind and adjust gear here and there a little bit in the end game, but that's fine because I kind of like that. Not a hard wall, and I initially thought I had a hard wall here where my shitty avalanche build, I don't even know, apparently shaman's a bit of a meme, and avalanche isn't really a skill you would want to focus on as a build, and I can kind of see why, but I did it to unlock the empowered monoliths. As far as pushing higher corruption in these empowered monoliths, probably will fall off there without further investment. But I just wanted to take a quick look and see. Let's just get into a game. I'll kind of talk about, how the experience was. Let me go over the skills actually real quick right now, just so you can see. If not just for a point of time to see like how misguided I was and what I was trying here, where I used was it Maelstrom here. This is kind of just to have something on right click and give me, where's the one that gives you haste and frenzy, which just makes you kind of go a little faster. I used to have this proc on me getting hit. I think I just have it proc on kill now, and you cast it every couple seconds and it goes, and there's your frenzy and your haste, just for mapping and general movement, which is pretty important in the game. Storm Totem, which was just like Elementalist or Primalist or whatever the hell. You have 10 attunement and then 50 elemental resistance while you control a totem. Initially, I thought this would be very important, but apparently resistances aren't as good. I figured, oh, it's my first character, this will help me gearing easier, and it kind of did help me reach res cap, which you do want to be on everything, but don't necessarily have to be. I think one of the big misnomers that a path player might have going in here is where you see resistances having its own section with all colored like things here. You're like, oh man, resistances are super important in Path of Exile. They must be like really important in this one, where the reality is they're just kind of a small piece of the puzzle, and you can actually get away with having like these resistances, even though in my brain I'm like, oh, I gotta get my totem up to get everything capped. It's actually not that bad to have less than 75 because of the way the math works, apparently. I've looked it up and asked around in global. I did start looking a couple things up once I got into the end game to kind of figure everything out, but yeah. So that left Storm Totem, which is fine. Kind of was our single target during the campaign. Am I still using, what the hell? I'm not using Fury Leap, am I? Oh, I'm using, wait, what? Do I not have Warkai spec anymore? Is that what I spec? Okay, well, there you go. I guess that's something, maybe that's why it was feeling a little underwhelming. I'm still gonna run, I've been running the Empowered Monoliths without having, I did go into Crowstorm to try it as my blink instead of this, but I guess I respect the wrong thing, so that's kind of embarrassing. But these were the two move skills. I mean, Crowstorm is kind of like a hybrid minion move skill once you go into, what is it, Sky Passage here, it makes you teleport. Yeah, and here's where I'd put my Warcry. I mean, honestly, let's just do that right now. Let's just despecialize. One of the strong points is that... Oh no, that's... The strong points is that you can kind of mix and match pretty easily. I believe, what was I going for here? Like crit or something? It boosts your crit, cold damage and shit, yeah. Affects a large area, stuns... Yeah, that's why my cold damage wasn't going up and stuff. Sure... I don't know if stacks of frostbite are that good. That seems like it might be good actually, so let's try that. Let's try a couple things with Warcry. I don't think it's actually that good for my purposes, but yeah. And then we skilled into Avalanche, kind of bringing down the well, not the cooldown, we just made it last longer and just kind of follow us around, so it kind of has like an auto bombery playstyle. Figured that would be good for running monoliths, and I feel like that's pretty good. Probably should get a few more points in mana efficiency, because you will see I do have some problems, but yeah, other than that, you just kind of spec into whatever you want here. I kind of went for falling faster and more frequently, but honestly area might be better. Either way, let's see. I'll go over my gear later, because none of it is really that good, and I am like trying to like level up this like Weaver unique and whatever, and I've only recently put on a Titan Heart. I don't know, gearing's a little tricky in this game, and I didn't really get it figured out that well. But I do want to farm this set to try and get like the full Avalanche set, just to give the Avalanche build like a full go, and then I'll probably respec into something more meta for the Primalist for Shaman or whatever. And yeah, idols are like D2 charms, except they make sense. They're fixed. This is a grand slam of a system, honestly, as far as I'm concerned. Although it is a little bit tricky. Oh no, I want to farm the boots. That's right, I already have 2 of the Hellhorse things. I believe the boots are here. Yeah, so this is what I've been just farming a bit. Now, I haven't pushed any high corruption or anything like that. I don't think I'll be able to. Just because Avalanche as a skill, when it's your main skill, is kind of awkward. It just doesn't really... It's not as consistent. It's like playing Blade Vortex if you didn't have consistent blades flying around you all the time. So it can be a little clunky. You kind of have to kite a bit. It does do good damage when it's happening, but it can feel very inconsistent. Although freeze and cold are good to have. Oh yeah, I can already tell the whatchamacallit, the Warcry is doing much better. I did try Crowstorm for the move skill for a bit, but I think I might swap back to the Leap Slam or whatever the hell it's called, Fury Jump or some shit. And yeah, I mean, I guess for as far as a first build goes, I understand that like primal. I can see what they mean now that I kind of understand scaling and like how I've taken a look. Like as you can see, I'm more into the druid. Well, like half my points are in the druid tree almost compared to the shaman, because the last section of the shaman tree isn't really that fancy. Kind of unfortunate, especially because skills are tied to you know, class identity or awakened mastery identity. I don't know what exactly I call it. Again, I do apologize for equating everything to probably, if not a PoE equivalent, then a D2 equivalent. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it's pretty fun to just kind of put everything together. I think my initial run through the campaign, I only died like once or twice on some bosses. I will mention that, like, you know, I do feel like dying on act bosses is actually kind of a good thing. Like, it's not like a good thing, you know, you don't want to die on the boss and it sucks to have to redo your progress, but it kind of makes it like a more meaningful sort of DPS and gear check. And yeah, pretty fun to try to get through. Not a huge challenge, honestly, but I feel like I was getting kind of lucky with some early gear drops and just kind of had a good idea. I kind of would pick something and stick to it, give it some levels and pick up some gear, and I don't really remember what I was leveling with, to be honest, because once I swapped to Avalanche, I'm like, all right, let's go full in on Avalanche. This is what you unlock when you get 20 points in Shaman, so this is clearly going to be a good skill you can build around, right? Unfortunately, not really the case. As far as I can tell, Avalanche is relegated to like a bit of utility to proc on hit effects and stuff in other builds. But that's besides the point. I think it's fine for whatchamacallit, tankiness here or something. I don't know. You kind of have the same thing in Path, where it's like, okay, you unlock this skill gem later. This probably is something I can build around. Not necessarily the case, especially considering that some, you know, skill gems you get at level 1 and can take you all the way into endgame. Kind of the case here as well, but I think I kind of... Oh, there we go. Damn it. So that's physical damage there. I do like that it gives you a bit of a death whatever thing, but as you can see, this is why I'm kind of want to do a video on this, kind of wrapping up this character, because it's... Avalanche is a little underwhelming. It has delayed damage, it has inconsistent damage. Freeze and chill is really good, but I also have like weird like targeting issues with it. Like you kind of have to run in the middle of stuff, because otherwise, because you're not going to be hitting stuff over here on the edges of the screen. It's only... I imagine it has some smart aiming, but it does feel somewhat random. Yeah, not fantastic. Let's go over the gear I was using really quick, just to kind of like have a base. Like this is what I had at the end game. I think I was running something slightly worse than this, and then just kind of crafted onto this. You know, just to get a feeling of the crafting system, which is fantastic. Definitely a high point for the game overall, is the idea of crafting items much in a way that you might think to craft an item. You're like shoving shards onto it or whatever to put it together. Very fun. And then of course with the whole exalted thing, real quick, seeing tiers and the max and things like drop only max craftable in parentheses there, huge win for the game. It's like a insane how good it feels and just goes to like be able to see this sort of stuff in game. Not to mention there's a really good in-game guide that I kind of didn't really have to reference at all, only on very few occasions, and I'm just so used to like alt tabbing out to googling some small things like the name of sets, which doesn't show up on the set itself, which I thought was a little weird, because I didn't really know what to farm. I guess, I mean, that's part of the intended experience or whatever, because I kind of want to farm the Halvar set, but whatever, besides the point. I do like this system very much, of each passive point giving you a choice in first off the base class, and then of course the class that you mastered, and as well as other stuff you can kind of dip into. Obviously, like when I needed some health, mana, there's just such good stuff here. In the druid, I am pumping points in here to push up, because like I said, shaman might need a bit of a port, according to the whatever, you know, shaman is a meme according to the community. You know, it's kind of a joke. I didn't think it was that bad, to the point where I could, you know, kind of blindly get to unlocking empowered monoliths myself on the first time, but now that I'm in them, kind of having a bit of trouble actually doing stuff with them, but that's fine. I kind of expected that. And re-rolling is very simple in this game. Like I just swapped this out, and now I already have 8 points up into here that I can spend. Pretty cool system, although it does kind of give me the sense of, it's like, all right, you'll never take like these except for like niche uses. I'm just spitballing, but like these you would use obviously for your build. So well, you can customize, they kind of fall into place in a somewhat understandable way. I think it's a lot to try and get everything right straight from the get-go, like compare everything that you can see here just immediately, because it's kind of tricky to understand, like, you know, without trying stuff. I kind of would just pick something and just stick with it for a while, and that was the case with like Tornado and Storm Totem. I was just kind of doing just spell based. I didn't want to do any attacks, even though hybrid like attack and spell builds not only are more common, but are kind of like expected almost, at least for shaman as far as I can see. I know there's some like thorn totems that like you can smash with upheaval or some shit like that, combo that seems pretty good, and I might be respecing into. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to have this video as a document of my time with the first experience of the game, so I can like kind of come back, because I can see myself coming back to this game and playing it very, very much. I want to try a bunch of new classes. I want to farm a bunch of new gear and craft a bunch of new gear. It's the system. I'm not going to go into it because I only have a very basic understanding of it, but the fact that it has just like these little quality of life features, like you can transfer all your crafting materials into a separate inventory, because otherwise this would be a fucking nightmare to manually organize and apply, probably to the point where you just wouldn't do it. You know, I think they nailed that sort of thing. You know, a lot of the systems, again, like the idols, little things like farming the blessings. You know, there's a lot of little tweaks and power creep, but it doesn't feel like they're just pulling directly from Path or like Diablo. They're kind of really doing their own thing with it. I do hope that they continue to do this and iterate on their own design. Monoliths are cool. You know, I will say that I kind of feel bad sometimes having the, now that I'm in the empowered ones. Well, first off, the empowered ones existing at all kind of defeats the purpose of these initially. Like I imagine that most people are just running these through the first time to unlock the empowered, which is the only thing really worth farming. Again, maybe that's like my top tier streamer brain rot from PoE, that where it's like, if you're not running tier 16 maps with altars super juiced up, your build is garbage and you're just wasting your time, which of course isn't the case. But you know, the fact that it does exist like that kind of pushes you towards the end, and anything that can't do that is kind of, you know, just a little bit underwhelming, and just that sort of feels bad moment. Despite the game being like pretty much at this point, they haven't added trade or anything. It's like entirely SSF. So, you know, when the gear upgrades do come, it feels pretty good. I wasn't really able to push this as much as I thought. Like I think like life is really what you wanted to do. I should have really carried that over. I didn't focus on that as much as I should have on crafting some of these, but like I definitely valued resistances over life, so I probably am going to have to recraft a lot of my gear going into the late game. Some of it is just like total garbage, but yeah, that's, I was able to get through some stuff, and then you have like pretty powerful uniques that can kind of enable some stuff here. I actually did want to try, where was the other one? The Woven Flesh is a really good one that I heard early on, that you can kind of target farm or whatever, and then gives you 100% crit avoidance while also giving leech. I did want to try this for a bit, because Titan Heart, while it's fantastic, this only works with the two-handed. I forgot I was leveling this Weaver thing, so that's probably why I died there. But like, I've been dying and it's felt like clunky and stuff. Let's try and run that again now with the leech, just to kind of see like how I will say, you know, not having skills and sockets and things like that lets you kind of test gear in a more flexible way, which I do like. But at the same time, I feel like gear identity, you know, well, it's hard to compare anything to Path of Exile's gear identity. It's just so unique and like pretty definitive of the game itself. Like the systems in the game are defined itself, whereas this is feeling more like iterative on like a Diablo 3 style. Like these classes have these skills and are strong as this, and they're sets, but they're not like sets where there'll be like all 6 of these are all the only ones that all these shaman builds will use or whatever like that. You know, I do feel like there's a focus on crafting in those in this game that is just nailed so quick. Like you're able to access it very early on. I waited too long because, again, that was my PoE brain rot kind of deterring me from spending my crafting materials or investing on subpar bases. You know, base items are still a thing, but not to the point where, you know, you don't need to craft during the campaign at all. It's not worth it. You know, it's good to get a bonus, and it's not like something that will like completely risk bricking the item. A lot of the time it's just like, if you have a tier 4 roll and you want to increase it to a tier 5, do you have the shard for it? Go ahead and do it. There's little reason not to, and I kind of would be like running monoliths or running through the campaign with items that I easily could have upgraded, but just chose not to for whatever reason. So right now, I'd see the walls that I ran into might have been able to be avoided. I mean, certainly now that I'm kind of looking into like builds and learning like the tools, Last Epoch tools is like basically the equivalent of PoE Ninja, where you can see, okay, people are using these uniques, people are doing these builds. You can go back and look at how builds have changed and things like that. And I get a sense that this game can have a very long and fruitful life. Kind of in a, I don't know, it's weird because while I do like some of the arcadier aspects of it, I actually didn't try controller support yet. Just because I didn't, you know, while I'm also kind of fiddling with the menus, I think it would probably be trickier to do stuff with the controller, like sorting my stash or dump tabs or whatever. I think PoE controller support is just really, really whack. but you know, that's just another thing that they've kind of nailed here. It's pretty cool. Let's see some single target damage here. I think Avalanche, especially on like this specific sort of enemy, just feels like kind of really bad. As you can see, well, I kind of have to run around to get all these, and then, you know, it's never really in front of me, it's like behind me. So it can lead to dangerous situations. I don't know if you can tell, but I never read like what the monoliths are doing. I kind of only let the rewards dictate where I go and what I pick. So that maybe is leading me into trouble here. I've got a big stack of them on the side here, the active modifiers that are kind of tricky, but I mean, I don't know. That's again PoE brain rot. Just like, okay, well, I'm pushing gear, I'm pushing loot. Obviously, I want to get the most loot possible. Even though you lose the loot if you die once. Again, kind of like a hard, not hard, like call it medium core aspect of the game, where you do want to build a well-rounded character. A glass cannon won't be getting the same rewards. You can't buff quantity straight up, and a lot of the time, you know, game is designed around the loot box system of monoliths having this sort of loot box at the end. So while I see potential, it still is kind of, I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat this. There are Elrond missions in this game. Remember Elrond missions? Kill X waves of enemies and defend this or whatever. That's in this game. So not exactly reinventing the wheel. If anything, it's going back to an old wheel that I didn't really like all that much. I guess we can go into some of the stuff, the rough edges of this game. First off, of course, I understand it's in beta, but I did have a lot of weird bugs just in the campaign alone, as well as running some weird campaign. The end game campaign, there's a lot of weird shit that happened there. Most notably, one was when you press escape, you can see what chapter you're up to. I was streaming my first playthrough of the campaign last week, and I was on chapter 4 at some point. And I was like, all right, let's go. I'll go to like, I start chapter 5 and then I'm going to go to bed. And I ended up going to bed at chapter 9 because the chapter thing wasn't like updating. I was getting really far. I just killed Lagon and I was like, all right, I feel like this that seemed like the end of a chapter, and it was indeed the end of 4 chapters ahead. So a lot of weird things like that, as well as weird quest states. You know, I was trying to follow the quest states here, and it would be like, go here, do this, but I didn't, because I didn't need to do this, whatever. Not to mention crashes in some monoliths when stuff started to get kind of hairy. I crashed like 3 times in a row in the same tile set, kind of frustrating. Again, monoliths, they're all free, you can run them, so while it is frustrating to die on one and lose one, it doesn't really actually matter that much. But you know, it's just a different sort of value they keep on the game. What else did I want to mention? Searchability in the stash is actual dog shit. You can't search rarity, you can only search items, and when you do search items, like let's say I wanted to highlight gloves, kind of a bad example here because it is pretty clear, but I would like them to do, you kind of underestimate how important the highlight is on when you search stuff in the Path of Exile stashes until you see it here. I guess that's kind of a bad, let's do like, I don't know why, it's because it's more prevalent when there's like a bunch of, like, if it has like a less, like, see here how I have staff and it's like, okay, this one's pretty obvious, but this one is purple. Oh, that's a wand, never mind. Okay, it's not that bad, but it would be like a little thing just to make it like glow or pop the edges, as well as of course search by rarity. Like I can search exalted items. See, like none of this is an exalted bow, but like it doesn't really like tell you that. Like, I don't know. I think that as far as sorting my dump tabs here, first off, buying tabs with gold is amazing. Love that, because otherwise I would know what the hell to do. But sorting this seems like a fucking nightmare. Like I don't know what to do. It's yeah, I think it leaves a little to be desired in that way. It would be cool to like mark items or have like stash tab affinities or something, because I'm just like not looking forward to sorting all this and shattering all this, as well as shattering. While you can get into like a bit of a rhythm here where it's like, okay, we shatter this, it's not that bad. I would prefer just to like right click like my shattering. Can you do that actually? Is that where you like right click a rune of shattering and then just like apply it to everything that you have in your inventory when you want to do that? Like, I don't know. What else? The skill system, you get a lot of kind of flexibility, which is kind of cool, as well as like dipping into like multi-classing. I kind of really like that. It kind of lets you dip into other stuff. Like I'm gonna respec into something that's apparently like summon Spriggan, but then it's also using like this Harbinger of Stars belt to like proc meteors, is like a la cast on crit. Like there's a lot of options. I see a lot of potential in this game. I'm just so thrilled with how good it was and how much fun I had. That being said, I do want to kind of put the pin in this build in this video overall, honestly, because I want to respec it. I want to try and like follow a build and then like actually see the ceiling, and then maybe just gain a little bit more knowledge. I might do this coming week, just kind of respec. I want to try Void Knight because I tried this, you know, pure spell based elemental, do what feels right. Now I'm gonna follow a Void Knight build. I think I'm gonna either follow Pox or like some version of, maybe if I can farm the stuff to do like the smite, hammer throw, whatever the fuck, I don't know, we'll see. But either way, yeah, last epoch, so glad to have this in the bag and like kind of get a base understanding of what I've been missing out on, which is a pretty solid ARPG. And it's not even getting started. I see, you know, the potential here, the humble beginnings, very promising, much like I imagined what Path of Exile was like in beta. So it'd be cool to see how they iterate on this. There's a lot of potential, and let me know what you think about the game if you've tried it yourself. Have any suggestions of stuff I should try, re-roll into? I know this was kind of a video that's all over the place, but you know, that's kind of, I just want to give sort of a chat, you know, of my experience of the game initially, which was very strong, which normally I feel like ARPGs are not. I feel like ARPGs, you can always like try one and you see some stuff here, but then you know, it just all falls apart. Whereas from my experience here, I was just kind of able to just get into the end game just by following the story, and then just getting up to it, and it was fine. A couple walls here and there, and you know, obviously some rough edges to smooth over, but I'm here for it. I got the game now, and I guess you'll be seeing content of it when it's relevant. You know, it's a little bit of the Path off season now, and I'm probably not getting D4 till it goes on sale, if at all. So yeah, the start of the last epoch. Thanks for watching.